Hello. Now, about 6 months, or just over 6 months ago, we started a campaign on Vaesen from Free League. The party is largely inexperienced. They're people. This is their first role-playing game campaign. It was played online, and we ran initially with Zoom, and then we've moved gradually over to Foundry. The last mystery. Actually, the last two mysteries we've run on Zoom. So what I wanted to do was just go through the things we've learned, and why Vaesen is such a good game, having played it for quite a while now, week in, week out. The first thing I would say is, as a DM, Vaesen's really good fun. It's easy to make your mysteries, and there's enough structure there to help you, but there's enough flexibility in the rules to allow you to adapt to the way your party plays. So the Vaesen themselves, there's always at least one. Well, there's not always, but generally your mystery is going to have a Vaesen at the end of it, and that helps you to know very clearly where you're going and what the party needs to achieve, and then you can plan backwards. So you know, for instance, if they're dealing with a ash tree wife, they're going to need 7 nails, and they're going to need to find the ash tree. So that helps, because then you have to work out, right, how am I going to get those 7 nails? Where are they going to be? I find it an incredibly easy system to plan with, and because the Vaesen themselves are so well described in the books, you can quite quickly work out a scenario or a mystery that fits around them. Another thing we did was we did our first few missions were done, our mysteries were done out of a Wicked Secret, which is the campaign book that you can get with it, Vaesen. And I have to say it's very, very good. And there's four mysteries in there, and they're quite different. And we did a couple of them, I think. And it helped me to get my head around how the game worked as a DM. It helped the players to get into the mold of how the game worked, and it helped everybody to sort of get into the flow and know their characters a little bit. And that was really, really helpful. There are some things that are really fantastic about the game. There are some things that aren't so much, and we'll talk about those at the end, that are okay and just be aware of. I think it's a really good system. I think it's a very strong narrative system with enough rules to make it have a bit of a bite, and the world is actually really good. So it's quite interesting. Here's some tips we found as we've played. First of all, the makeup of your party matters, and some of the characters that seem less exciting are actually extremely important. I think it's quite the characters that I've found you need in the party is you need somebody who has good learning. Now, there's a number of routes to get that through the archetypes, but you need somebody who's got a degree of learning. The most obvious one is an academic. And the reason you need that is before you set off in the mystery, whenever you get the brief, so to speak, there'll be a learning check to find out information about the place you're going to. And that's useful, and it helps people to work out what they need to bring equipment-wise. And there comes a critical point in the game, in the mystery, where you will roll a learning check and find out how to defeat what the Vaesen are likely to be and how to defeat them. And if you don't have somebody with that learning check, your party's going to struggle. Or somebody's proficient at learning, the party's going to struggle. So they're actually quite important. More so, I would say, than the doctor/medic kind of character, because a lot of that's going to happen at base anyway. So in our party, that's a really important rule. The other rules, I would say, you need some kind of fighter. You need somebody to hold up the Vaesen in some way, to defend the party, to defend the person we're learning, and then everything that comes around that. And there's lots of different characters depending on which the party what the party want to do. And I would say, tell them what they are, tell them what the rules are, and just nudge some people to go in those, a fighter, a hunter maybe, or somebody with good close combat, and people will tend to go towards those anyway. But encourage somebody to become the learner, the person who knows stuff. And because of the nature of parties, it's good to have a couple of people who have got some learning as well, not just the one person, because people aren't always able to make a mystery or whatever. The second tip is have something up your sleeve for when people can't make it. And Vaesen actually lends itself quite well to this. It's quite easy to write in a story as to why somebody couldn't make it, or why they made the first half of mystery but not the second half. Mysteries typically run between 2 to 3 sessions, is our experience, and that can be quite tricky. So we have things where people go to visit a relative, or they've got a crisis at home and they have to go and then come back, and that can really help. Another thing as a GM I would encourage you to do with your players is to really emphasize the importance of talents. Talents are incredibly useful if you pick the right ones in the game, and they can be a fantastic get out of jail free card and add an awful lot of flavour. People tend to forget them. So my advice would be strongly to get them familiar with their talents and picking out what they want. Don't let the party forget the importance of their base, because you can upgrade your base and develop it, and that can be a lot of fun for parties. Our party has got a ridiculous amount of development points at the minute, and I think we kind of need to get the base developed a bit. We need to get it developed quite a lot, and actually that'll unlock an awful lot of things for them, which will be kind of fun. In terms of planning, personally, I would say start with the Vaesen, understand, and they're so well written in the book. Read about them, develop your idea of what they're going to be. Don't be afraid of deviating a little bit from it if it fits what you want to do. Know what their weaknesses are and what the ritual are. That's really the key bit. And then once you've got that in place, think, how are they going to find out those things? How are they going to find that out? And if there's something that they need, how are they going to get it? And I found that really helps, actually, for me, for my planning. So the first thing I always start with is, which Vaesen is it going to be? Now, why would that Vaesen be in this place? What's the story here? And what do my party need to find to get there? And then I start with NPCs. So whenever we first ran it, we ran it as Zoom with PowerPoint slides, and I got pictures of each NPC in each location, and I would share screen those in Zoom. And what I found was, as I get the pictures, I started to kind of think of a story for that person. And some of it was really relevant, and some of it wasn't. And if you get stuck, get some dice, roll them in the table at the back, and don't feel you have to take what comes up. There's a table that tells you about the personality and the quirks of a character. If you get, or it can tell you a location, or it can tell you what type of character. So there's a number of different tables. Use them. You don't have to stick with them, but what you'll find is, as you roll them, you go, no, I don't want that one. And then start, well, and I don't want that one. And you'll find yourself going in a direction with what you want to happen in your story. And whenever you're developing your own stories, that's a really effective tool to doing it. I find those tables so helpful. Personally, I would also say stick a red herring in and play with it. We literally had one where I can't remember the name. We had, I think it was Eric Rebam, which literally meant red herring. There was a character, and that was them. And I it's a bit of a running joke, but we've got red herring in every single mystery, and the red herring will be revealed through like an engraving on the bottom of something, or a tattoo of a red herring on them, or something that can, and that adds a bit of fun and it's quite nice. When's the red herring coming up is the next thing. I like it, I enjoy it. And to be honest, don't overplan. This is an narrative system. You will be able to think on your feet. And if not, let the party argue a while, and you'll find that a right route emerges. What I tend to do is I get really stuck. I roll some dice. I give them a choice. And if in doubt, I tend to have sort of stock characters that I use. So we had a couple of very odd characters. A farmer who was clearly had been living on his own too long. Turned out had murdered his wife. It was very, very strange indeed. We've had a completely fed up, bored alcoholic clergyman. We've got a mad professor, of course. And we've got lots and lots of different ones. And actually, one of the things I might do is at some point over the next couple of weeks, put up the details for GMs only of a few of the mysteries that we've done to give you some ideas. Because I know as a GM, it can be quite hard to get ideas, especially whenever you're starting a new system. And just give you sort of a few ideas for things we've done that have worked well, things we haven't, so actual mysteries that we've run. And I think that'd be quite good fun. Yeah, plan it, but don't overplan it. Like I said, it can be really good to have pictures of your characters ready and have pictures of your locations ready. Now, we've moved to Foundry, and part of the reason was we could, to be honest. I wanted to try it out, and because for other games it was becoming apparent it'd be really useful. And I wanted to try it with a system that I knew well. And what I find is Foundry feels quite different, but there's definitely a wow factor in there, especially whenever you use sound. And we're going to do a couple of videos on how to use Foundry over the next few weeks and months, and what my experience has been of using it, which is limited, but it's there. And for Vaesen, it actually works great for adding flavour. That's the real strength of it. I also use a piece of software called Incarnate, which is on a website, to drop maps. So the way I do it is I drop the map with the locations, and then I put journal entries on with pictures, the different characters in it, and it works a treat. It really does, and it took a little bit of getting used to, but I played about with it enough beforehand that whenever we started to use it as a party, it was okay. The other thing I would say is, with Vaesen in particular, let your characters breathe a bit. Let them chat, and let them get it wrong a bit. So long as they get to that end point, it's absolutely fine. If they get to the end point, that's the bit that matters. You might have a great idea in your head of what you want to happen, but what some of the best sessions we've had, the party would think I had it all ultra planned, but actually what happened was they went off in a far more interesting route than I thought of to solve the problem, and I ran with it. I just let them run with it, so long as they end up in that climatic scene at the end. That's what matters. That scene I work a lot on and make sure it's going to work. But how they get there, sometimes they come up with much more interesting things. This is really a collaborative storytelling in Vaesen, so run with that, enjoy it. You have some awesome water cooler moments if you do. I hope that's been helpful. I know it's been a bit rambling, but I hope it's been helpful. What has been your experience? Particularly as GMs or players, what's been your experience? Of the game? What do you love about it? Things I would say. A couple of things that I think maybe a little bit. Character progression, you can become very overpowered very quickly in the game. One of the ways you can get around that is repeat the Vaesens. So don't forget, you can have 2 or 3 ghosts that are completely different. So use ghosts It's quite a good one. Also, don't be afraid of people. People will get quite powerful, but the Vaesen are always going to be much more powerful than they are. So and play them that way. You know, play magic's very powerful if you use it in this game to scare the heck out of even powerful parties. In my experience, so do that. You know, use it really well. I think it's enchantments that can. You don't even have to do a defense against. They don't have a defense against. So use enchantments because it doesn't matter if they're really powerful. All the animals come charging out of the forest at them. They don't have to resist to that. They've got to deal with the animals, and it can be overwhelming. One of the nearest my characters have got to serious trouble was actually hundreds of Vader, which are tiny little things, but basically I thought gremlins. And that was overwhelming for them. Because although they were quite powerful, and the Vader were okay, but they're quite insignificant and you can beat them physically, there were just so many of them. And there was a genuine look of panic in the party's eyes at a couple of points in that mystery, which was brilliant. So you can get overpowered, but there are routes around it. So don't be afraid of doing it. You should always have a bit of tension in it. Yeah. So anyway, I hope that's been useful. Sorry, it's been a bit rambling. But thanks for watching. What are your experiences? What have you learned? Where are you in your Vaesen journey? Would it be helpful to put up a couple of, you know, games that or ideas that mysteries that we've run? It'll be just chatting like this and saying what were the different bits. Would that be helpful? Is that something you would like to watch? Is it helpful going through the software for Foundry? Comment below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Have a lovely day. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.